Welcome to Forum 360. I'm Mark Welfley. Thank you for joining us for our Global Outlook with a Local View. Where will your travels take you this summer? A beach vacation, a camping expedition, sightseeing, some attractions in a big city or even a small one? How about a concert or a sporting event? For all of these travel experiences, you need only look in one place, your own backyard. That's right, Northeast Ohio has it all. Lake Erie, Cuyahoga Valley National Park, the #1 national park in Ohio, the Rock Hall, Blossom Music Center, and the Cleveland Guardians, to name a few. Home to more than 4 million people and 18 million visitors a year, Northeast Ohio has developed into a tourism hotspot. Today, we will explore how our area has emerged as a top tourism destination with Jen Brazovich. Jen is the Public Relations Manager for Destination Cleveland, a nonprofit organization for Cuyahoga County, spending every day helping more people discover the real Cleveland. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So Cleveland has remade its image over the last 10 years or so. Tell me a little bit about how they did it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good place to start with because the Cleveland of 2024 is very different from the Cleveland of 2014. So actually, it was just about 10 years ago now, back in 2014, when Destination Cleveland introduced what we call the Cleveland Visitor brand. That's evolved into a kind of take on a life of its own. So that's the script Cleveland that you see all over the city. It's the hashtag This Is CLE. But it's also about really amplifying those authentic Cleveland experiences, the people that are in Cleveland, and really working to change perceptions of Cleveland on a national scale. So like you said, we've had over 18 million visits last year, and every time a visitor comes to Cleveland, we're able to show them firsthand why Cleveland is such a great visitor destination. So we know seeing is believing, and those perception changing trips are just absolutely essential to remaking the image of Cleveland. It doesn't only start with visitors, though. It also starts with locals. So back when we launched this brand in 2014 and we launched the Cleveland Visitor brand and really started to encompass everything that makes Cleveland a visitor destination, 34% of residents said that they would recommend Cleveland as a place to visit. Now that number is well over 80%. So we're really seeing that work pay off, but it is really about amplifying the voices that are here in Northeast Ohio, amplifying the businesses and the unique perspectives and the diversity we have here. And once we get people here, we know that their minds will be changed.
Yeah. So, share with me a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you get here to Cleveland, and are now the Public Relations Manager for Destination Cleveland?
Yes.
Tell me your story.
So I'm not a Northeast Ohio native. It surprises a lot of people when they hear that because of my role and because I speak so passionately about Cleveland. But I've been here for about 3.5 years. So I'm originally from Western New York, so still the Great Lakes region. I grew up just south of Lake Ontario, so just switched Great Lakes as I got older. But I was in Washington, D.C. before this for about 7 years. And when the pandemic happened, I decided it was time for me to make a change. I wanted to have a little more space. I wanted to have a house of my own. I have a dog. I wanted my dog to have a yard of her own, which is not something that was affordable in Washington, D.C. So I started looking at some other destinations around the area. I didn't want to be too far from my family in Western New York still, but I wanted to be somewhere where I felt that there was just a little something of everything and a place that I could be really passionate about. And I'd visited Cleveland several times to see some friends here, and it just stuck out as the place to be. So I came out here one weekend, looked at a bunch of houses, picked one, and I moved here in September of 2020. And I was still working remote from my job in Washington, D.C. when I moved here because it was the pandemic. And I got really lucky. I found this job at Destination Cleveland. I knew whatever I took my next step towards, I wanted it to be something that I could be really passionate about and that I would get up every day and just want to go to work and just talk about the work I was doing. And so I think this role is pretty much checking all of those boxes. But I just absolutely fell in love with Cleveland, and I wanted to share that passion with everyone. And I think my friends and family have experienced that pretty extensively. But I'm really lucky to be able to share that passion with people all over Northeast Ohio, people all over the country, and just tell them what makes Cleveland such a great destination to be.
Yeah, so let's talk about what you get up each day and are dedicated in doing, and that's Destination Cleveland. A little bit about the genesis of Destination Cleveland, its mission. Go maybe into a little bit more depth than maybe I did in the opening.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So Destination Cleveland, we're known as the Destination Marketing and Management Organization for the Greater Cleveland area, Cuyahoga County. So what that means is that we are unapologetic promoters of Cleveland.
It's on your site. Yeah.
If you meet one of us, we are going to talk your ear off about Cleveland. But our job is to get people to choose Cleveland. So whether that's for leisure travel, people planning their summer vacations, or just looking for a weekend getaway, or it's business travel. A large part of the people who come to Cleveland every year are business travelers. So not only those people who are maybe coming to town for an overnight trip for some business meetings, but also meetings and conventions are a big part of our business. So we try to get meetings and conventions to choose Cleveland. We host hundreds of them every year here in Cleveland, whether it's at the Huntington Convention Center or at the hotels or the other unique venues we have across the city and the area. But once they're here, our job really kind of shifts a little bit. So now they've chosen Cleveland, our job is to make sure that they have a great Cleveland experience, show them all of the places to go, all of the places to eat, all of the resources available to them, where they should stay, what they should see while they're here. So that's really kind of Cleveland, Destination Cleveland in a nutshell. We get people to choose Cleveland, and once we're here, we try to make sure they have a great experience.
Yeah, great. So let's focus on those more non-business visitors. Tell me a little bit about a couple of places that everybody wants to visit when they come to Cleveland, or you steer them, and then a couple of hidden gems that either you love or that people have been here and said, you should talk more about X, Hale Farm, whatever it is. So a few common attractions or really popular attractions and a few hidden gems.
Yeah, well, you mentioned one of them in your opening, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's usually when we mention Cleveland, people are like, oh, the Rock Hall. It's the thing that you kind of associate with Cleveland. We are the city where the term rock and roll was coined. We are the home to the world's only Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that is what I think drives a lot of people to want to come to Cleveland. They want to come to the city, they want to go to the Rock Hall. But when they're here, they also want to do some other things. So whether they're into arts or sports, we have that here in Cleveland. So in addition to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we also have Playhouse Square. Playhouse Square, a lot of people don't know, is actually outside of New York City, the largest performing arts district in the entire country. So you get that really big city feel in Playhouse Square, but on a small city scale. We like to call it a big city, mid-sized city without the big ego, So, and then the Cleveland Museum of Art is absolutely world-renowned. People come here from all over the world to go to the Cleveland Museum of Art. They have art from artists like Monet and Vincent van Gogh, and the coolest thing about it is it's completely free. Every day it is completely free. And the West Side Market is another big one that we see people wanting to come to Cleveland to experience. So it's over 100 years old, vendors from all around the area, and really represents the diversity that we have here in Cleveland. But if you're looking for something that's maybe not the West Side Market, not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not taking in a Guardians or a Cavaliers game, there are a few hidden gems that we talk about quite a bit. So Heinen's grocery store, of course, there's the Heinen's chain all around the area. And if you're a tourist coming to Cleveland, stopping at a grocery store is probably not high on your list of things that you want to do. But the one that's in downtown Cleveland is just absolutely beautiful. It's in the old Cleveland Trust building. So it's got some great grab and go options for people who are visiting right there at the corner of Euclid and East 9th Street. And it gives people a chance to just really take in the architecture that's here in Cleveland, because if you look up, you have just this beautiful rotunda above you. So you can grab your lunch from the salad bar, from the hot bar, grab some sushi. They even have a Mitchell's ice cream stand in there, so you can grab some ice cream, sit in the middle of the rotunda, and just look up and be immersed in the architecture and the beauty there. So it's a hidden gem because it is a grocery store, but it's in a historic building. So we always tell people, if you're in downtown Cleveland, you're going to walk down and check that out. It is getting to be baseball season, so we also talk a lot about the Baseball Heritage Museum and League Park. These are places that if you're not from Cleveland, I think a lot of people haven't heard of it. So
correct.
We always encourage people, if you're coming to Cleveland to take in a Guardians game, maybe add this onto your stay because it's going to go hand in hand with your love of baseball. But League Park is actually the oldest baseball park in the country, and the Baseball Heritage Museum, which is located in the old ticket stand, is just a walk through history of the game. I mean, you had some of the biggest names playing there. The then Cleveland Indians used to play there in the early 1900s. It's where they won the World Series. Babe Ruth played there, so if you stand at home plate, it's like I'm standing somewhere where Babe Ruth stood. That's pretty incredible. But it is a really cool walk through the history of the sport, including some of the minority leagues that exist in baseball, which is a really awesome part of the diversity that exists here in Cleveland. So it's a great way to get acquainted with that as well. And then Lakeview Cemetery, probably another place that's not on a lot
by my
of,
house, yeah.
If you're a tourist, you're probably not going to a city to visit a cemetery. But in addition to being home, the final resting place to a lot of famous Clevelanders, you know, you've got John D. Rockefeller, Elliot Ness, President James A. Garfield over there, Alan Freed, who was the DJ who coined the term rock and roll, is buried there. But there's just incredible architecture, beautiful landscapes there. You know, in the spring, Daffodil Hill blooms. So you could spend a whole day just wandering around and really experiencing the history there. So again, probably if you're visiting a destination, you're not like, let me check out where the closest cemetery is. But that's one that you don't want to miss if you're visiting Cleveland.
Sure. So Garfield's tomb is there as well, right? And it's more than just a mausoleum. And I know I run it through the Lakeview Cemetery. And it seems like there's a lot of construction, but they, at one time, you were able to climb the stairs up to a viewing platform. Do you know if that's open or still?
I'm not sure if that's open right now.
Yeah, but that would be an awesome view of the city. And move south just a little if you can, closer to Akron maybe, and share with me some of the places that you recommend in that area.
So if you're heading closer to Akron, of course, you know, you're looking at the home of the Rubber Ducks. It's baseball season. I can't help but talk about baseball right now. So you've got the Rubber Ducks. You've got Cuyahoga Valley National Park, of course. I mean, it's one of the coolest things I can think of, that you're within an hour, you can be at a Great Lake, and then less than an hour later, you can be in the middle of a national park. And Cuyahoga Valley National Park, completely free. So an amazing experience to be able to get in the middle of a national park and not have to pay a thing. Hale Farm and Village, and it's just at the holidays, you know, all of the things down here just light up. I mean, when you look around Northeast Ohio, everyone who has a garden center or a horticulture center, everybody decorates. So it's just a really great opportunity to experience all of Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, we took my son and his friends on a little bus, and we went to the Cleveland signs. There's a Cleveland sign in the Flats, and there's another one up in other areas of Cleveland. And it was just, you know, they had so much fun. I'm climbing on it. I'm not allowed to do that, but I'm not sure. But
you are allowed to climb on it.
And they were climbing on it, and they had a picture taken, and there was a great view of the city in the back. It was really, you know, just a small little thing, but it meant so much to the student, to the kids. If you are just joining us, thank you very much for both listening and watching. My name is Mark Welfley, and this is Forum 360. And my guest today is Jen Brazdovich, and Jen is the Public Relations Manager for Destination Cleveland, a nonprofit organization unapologetically dedicated to making sure if you ever visit Cleveland, you enjoy it and come back. So we were talking a little bit about places to visit in Northeast Ohio, and we're going to continue on from there. Do you specifically have a favorite place, and it could be a restaurant or it could be a whatever, that you like to visit in Cleveland or in Northeast Ohio?
I have a lot. It would be we would be here for many more minutes if we were going to talk about all of my favorite places to go in Northeast Ohio. But I think one of the things that really stood out to me when I moved to Cleveland and Northeast Ohio is the incredible nature and green space that's here. So whether I'm, you know, at Edgewater Beach along Lake Erie, or if I'm down in Cuyahoga Valley National Park, or any of the Cleveland Metro Parks in between, those are probably my favorite places to be, to just be immersed in nature. You know, Cleveland's a mid-sized city, but when you get into those metro parks, when you get into the reservations and you get into the national park, you feel like you're in a different place. So it's kind of like traveling the world without leaving Cleveland. Yeah. I think the West Side Market is also a top favorite of mine. It's the place I take all of my friends and family when they come to visit. The diversity of vendors that exists there, the history that's there, the vendors that have been there for generations of their family. I mean, you could spend all day just standing there talking to the vendors. And it's an incredible representation of what we're about here in Cleveland.
When I was at West Side Market, they actually cut a slice of pear and let you taste it before you actually buy it. And I don't think I've ever seen that in a market before. Switching the focus now to when large events come into town. The draft you mentioned off air prior to the interview here, and the convention and others. Like, what is the role of Destination Cleveland when you know a big event is coming to town?
Yeah. So Destination Cleveland doesn't host events ourselves. What we really do is try to make the case for why events should be hosted in Cleveland. So we're really more community collaborators. So we'll bring all of the voices that need to be heard to the table to really make the best pitch for why Cleveland should be the place to host that event. So if it's the Republican National Convention, if it's something like the NFL Draft, or we just had the NCAA Women's Final Four just a few weeks ago, we're here to make sure that people know all of the assets that Cleveland can offer them if they choose to host their event in Cleveland. And then once the event is here or it's coming up, once they've chosen Cleveland, our role is kind of twofold. So first is the marketing. If it's a consumer-facing event like the NCAA Women's Final Four and the NFL Draft, our job is to kind of support through marketing initiatives and let people know that the event is coming to Cleveland, that they should come to Cleveland and be part of the event.
So advertising, social media.
Advertising in key markets. We call them drive markets because they're places that people can easily drive to Cleveland from, and just letting people know that these big events are coming to Cleveland. And then we also have a portion of our business. We mentioned the meetings and conventions that come to town, but we also have a services team. So once an event chooses Cleveland, our services team does everything to help make sure that those people who are coming to Cleveland have the resources they need to make the best possible event. So whether it's helping them find the hotel rooms that they need, or once the event is here, setting up tables at those hotels so that people who are visiting for the event have all the resources about their weekend or their time in Cleveland. That's really where our role comes in once the event is here. But we're really more community collaborators. We're all about bringing all of the voices to the table, making sure all of the voices that need to be heard are being heard, and really telling people why they should choose Cleveland for those big events.
I love the successes. I mean, this collaboration with Destination Cleveland and all the other entities that pulled this together have really done great work. It's been really fun to watch and be proud of, for sure. I'd like you to tell me maybe have a memory or a story about a person, a tourist, an event, something that kind of stands out in your mind that says, this was really cool.
Yeah.
Can you share with me?
Oh, absolutely. Again, we could be here forever just sharing stories. I have two Cleveland memories that really stick out to me. The first one is a personal memory from before I lived in Cleveland. I came to Cleveland pre-pandemic, so it was probably about 2018, and I was going to go to a Cavaliers game. And I came downtown. I went to dinner on East 4th Street at Mabel's Barbecue, another one of my favorite spots, with my friends. And I remember just standing on East 4th Street and looking at them being like, you didn't tell me all of this was here. And I feel like when people come to Cleveland, that's what I hear from them too. When we have tourists who come into our visitor center, that's what we hear from them. I didn't know that Cleveland had this, this, and this. I didn't know Cleveland had a beach. I didn't know Cleveland had such a great food scene. I didn't know it had all of these cool things. So that's one of my favorite Cleveland memories. The other one, it's a much more recent one, but the NCAA Women's Final Four being hosted in Cleveland just a few weeks ago, I mean, we could not have had a better chance to host that event in Cleveland. We couldn't have hosted it at a better time. The rise of women's sports over the last few years, since we were awarded the event in 2018, has just been astronomical. And to be part of the excitement, not only for people who were coming to Cleveland just to want to be close to the action, people who didn't have tickets to the game but wanted to be in the city because the championship was happening there. And to hear the stories from people about what great hosts people were in Cleveland, what a great time they had in Cleveland, to hear all the things the players and the coaches had to say about the city, it was a real point of pride for me to be part of that community and to be able to see how my work is affecting an entire nation, really. Yeah. And just the excitement in the air all weekend long, everywhere you were in Cleveland, the energy was just off the charts.
Did you go to the game?
I did, yes.
Oh, you're lucky.
I mean, talk about energy off the charts. It was just out of control, but it was so exciting to be able to say, this is here, this is in my city. Yeah.
So looking forward, can you tick off a few events coming to town, to Cleveland, over the next year or two?
Yeah. I mean, we've got so many on the calendar already. So a big one that was just announced, WWE SummerSlam, is coming to Brown Stadium this summer. It's going to have not only the SummerSlam event, but it's going to have just a week long of events that are going to be happening all throughout Cleveland. So that's going to be a big driver for us. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony returns to Cleveland this fall. We last hosted it in 2021, so we're getting it back in the cycle now.
Includes the concert?
Yep, includes
Okay,
the concert.
good.
So the induction ceremony and the concert will be hosted at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse again this year.
great.
So, I mean, that's a great opportunity for us because you can fit so many people in that arena, and it gives Clevelanders and music fans from across the country a chance to be part of that excitement. They can actually buy tickets and be there when their favorite acts are inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is really cool. We were talking about NCAA women's basketball. Next year we have the men's tournament coming to Cleveland, so we'll be hosting the first rounds of the tournament in 2025. And then we talked a little bit about meetings and conventions that come to Cleveland. So a few cool ones that are coming. Barbershop Harmony Convention is coming here in July, over 4th of July. So if you're in Cleveland, you will definitely hear some sweet harmonies going through the air. And then we also have a really big industry event coming in August, which is the American Society of Association Executives. And we talk about this one because of its economic impact, not only in the short term for what it means to be hosting that event and the money that it'll bring in from outside the area, but what it has to do long term. So research shows that about 20% of people who attend that conference, they're all people who are looking to book their own meetings and conventions, and 20% of them will book within the host city in the next 5 years after hosting. So it's a really great chance for us to put Cleveland out there on the business side of things and show people what Cleveland has to offer.
So cast your eyes 10 years into the future. Where do you see Cleveland? I mean, where do you see its evolution? What are we going to see out of Cleveland in 10 years?
I think we've come such a long way in the last 10 years. We talk about 2016 being a big banner year for us, from hosting the Republican National Convention, the Cavaliers getting their championship. You know, all of that happened in a very short span of time. And that was really kind of a catalyst for us to really put Cleveland on a national stage and show what we can do as a city and show why people should choose Cleveland. I think we're going to continue that momentum. We've continued it for the last 8 years since 2016. I think there's it's just going to keep building. The excitement's going to keep building. We're going to see more big events choosing Cleveland. We're going to see more opportunities for Cleveland to be shared on the national stage. We had Travel and Leisure name us as one of the best places to travel this year. So I think we're going to see more accolades like that coming in over the next 10 years. And I'm hoping by 2034, you're not going to have anyone who's saying, why would I go to Cleveland? You're going to have people saying, this is why I go to Cleveland.
Yes. I hope you're right. I think they're already starting to say it.
Yeah.
Blow me away with a statistic about Cleveland, something that'll surprise me.
I think a lot of people are surprised to know, we talk a lot about Cleveland's diversity, but when we really put the numbers around it, I think that's what really blows people away. So Cleveland is a city built up of more than 117 different ethnicities, and those 117 different ethnicities represent 60 different languages here in Cleveland. So whichever neighborhood you go to, you're going to see representation from different areas of the world. It comes through in our cultural celebrations, it comes through in our food and drink that we have here, the great restaurants we have here, the businesses that are run here. But I think it really surprises people to know just how diverse Cleveland is.
Yeah, agreed. So I saw a story on the news that retirees are looking more to retire in the Great Lakes region and in the Northeast Ohio and Cleveland area more and more than head to Florida or be a snowbird and move out to Phoenix, Arizona. Comment on that, if you would. Do you see that in your travels?
I've heard that research as well. I think that it's absolutely amazing. I think more people are realizing that Cleveland offers a little bit of something for everyone. So for retirees, you know, if they're looking for nature, they have it here. If they're looking for the art scene, or if they like music and theater, they have that here. And to top it all off, Cleveland's within driving distance of about half of the country. So I think if you have retirees who are looking to want to stay closer to their children, their grandchildren, it gives them the opportunity to do that. But we're really seeing people choose Cleveland from all walks of life. So, you know, people who are coming to Cleveland to be students here, people who are coming here as midpoint professionals, and retirees. I think you're seeing the full spectrum choose Cleveland, and it doesn't surprise me. I think it's going to continue to be a trend that we see.
And we have water.
Yep.
We have water for sure.
Yes.
I want to go back to a point you made earlier about the ethnicities and the diversity. Do you encourage the visitors to go to different areas of the city and eat there? Like, give them recommendations
Yeah, absolutely. So we talk a lot about the different neighborhoods that exist here in Cleveland. We have a whole page on our website that's dedicated to every neighborhood in Cleveland. So some of the big ones that we see interest in are Little Italy, obviously located over near University Circle. So if we have people who we know are going to be going to the museums, the art gallery over there, we'll recommend they stop over to Little Italy. Tons of mom and pop restaurants over there, a really authentic taste of Italy over there. And then in August, it becomes home to the Feast of the Assumption, which is a faith-based celebration that celebrates the Italian culture here in Cleveland. We see a lot of people choosing Ohio City as well. It's a really trendy dining entertainment area. So in addition to downtown being an entertainment district, if you're on East 4th Street or in your flats, Ohio City is really growing there too. And you're seeing a lot of different restaurants, family-friendly activities over there, breweries, of course the West Side Market we talked about. So a lot of good stuff for people in Ohio City as well.
Thanks, Jen. Travel Lemming listed Cleveland as the 30th best place to travel in the world in 2023. As the saying goes, those who think there is nothing to do in Northeast Ohio have never been in Northeast Ohio. And while perhaps that might have once been true, this popular quote has simply gone the way of the dinosaur. Like Happy, a 70-foot long, 14-foot tall skeleton of the oldest sauropod dinosaur on display in the world, which you can find at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. I would like to thank Jen Brazdovich from Destination Cleveland for her time and insights today, and thank you for watching and listening. And please keep your mind and your ears open until next time on Forum 360.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.